Okay, so for today, what we'll be talking about is information gathering, and be it be it uh, be it a cybersecurity engineer, a security analyst, or a penetration tester, or an ethical hacking. Anywhere you find yourself within the IT information space, information gathering is very important. It could be logs, log gathering and monitoring. It could be information around certain events. So it's very important for us to gather information. And like I always say, the amount of information we gather, it's going to result into how much facts we can get from such information about an event or about an incident. So for penetration testing, it's not a different issue. It's also very important that information gathering is done adequately, um, and enough time is invested in it, right? So what are we going to be talking about information gathering? Why do we need information gathering? Because every attacker, whether it be a cyber, whether white or black hat, everybody, the first step towards ethical hacking is information gathering, right? So what are the various stages of hacking? You know, the various stages of hacking that we have. The first one is called reconnaissance. The second one is called scanning. The third one is gaining access. The fourth one is maintaining access. And the fifth one is covering track. These are the 5 stages of ethical hacking. You know, some other people argue that we have a 6th stage, which is reporting, which I quite agree. But I would like to also put reporting under that is for ethical hacking. But we are talking about hacking in general. So it is only ethical hackers that will do reporting. Black hat hackers, these guys out there that create malware, that are trying to infiltrate network, they don't do reporting. So basically we have 5 stages, and these are the 5 stages. So we are going to be going through the 5 stages one at a time. But for today's session, our focus will be on reconnaissance. Reconnaissance is also known as information gathering. It's also known as footprinting. So for short, people call it recon. So what exactly is reconnaissance? Why do we need it? So I want you guys to picture yourself as an ethical hacker, and the first thing is that you are going to do the first step towards attacking maybe a victim is that you are going to do a recon. And the question that I'm asking you guys is that why do we actually need a recon? The most important phase of ethical hacking used to gather relative information about your specific targets. That is what reconnaissance is. Some people call it footprinting, some just call it information gathering. And this reconnaissance, it has 2 stages. It can be passive and it can be active. You can, so here we have passive fingerprinting. So it's also termed fingerprinting in the sense that it's a process of gathering resources, enough information about your target, because the more information you gather about your targets, the better it is for the more likelihood you have to be successful about your attack. So information around the IP addresses, information around about ports, running services on that network. What kind of service are they using? The website. What kind of SSL certificate are they using? What is the information? If you can't gather this set of information, either using social engineering method or using automated tools, you will not be able to get some basic information about your victim. That those are what you require to now carry out your exploits. Now we have what we call passive recon or passive information gathering. Is the use of publicly available resources to obtain pieces of information about your target. Now, why is it called passive? It's called passive because you don't need to interact with the target. All you need to do is you are checking publicly available information. So at this okay. Oh, can you see my screen also? Right? Hello? Hello, guys. Can you see my screen too?
No.
Okay. Okay. So without wasting much time, basically, don't forget what I said. The term recon means information gathering, and two things is that it can be in two format. One is that it can either be passive and it can either be active. The reason why it is passive is because you are gathering publicly available information without interfering with the target, the victim itself. And for active, of course, you have to now interact with the victim. You have to, send requests, use automated tools, to target the victim's network. That's why it is active, right? So, like you see the third point there. Most time should be
I
dedicated.
can't see your screen. Sorry.
Sorry.
I can't see the screen.
Oh, okay. So, like I said, the DNS dumpster is basically used to gather information around domain, do like some sort of DNS recon and research DNS record files like mail exchange record, your DNS server, and resolve the to the IP addresses. Because like I was saying earlier on, is that most of the sites, most of the target victims that attackers aim at is that they don't use IP address to host their servers, right? They use URLs, domain name. So at some point you are going to use some tool to resolve their URLs or their domain names to IP address to see their actual IP addresses, right? So because you are going to do after the information gathering phase, when we get into the scanning phase where you need to use tools like nmap, you want to use you need those IP addresses to scan for open services, open ports, or vulnerable services that are within those active IP addresses. So I did a I did a search here, and I took a sample URL, a sample domain, sorry, to do a search, and these are informations that I've gathered. Um, so this is a summary showing us that okay, the domain that I just recently searched, there's the lookups, locations where it have those lookups from, also the geographical locations where it is being hosted from, the source hosting server where it is located. Then we can go on, like I was showing you guys. We have about some some link here that you could just like you can see these are the DNS servers, right, that are linked to that domain. Look at the IP addresses. You could see so this would give you information around the range of IP addresses that could form your scope of attack. This is a mail exchange record. This is the DNS server IP addresses. We could also go down to see domain mapping. Um, okay, can you guys see my screen? So this is the domain mapping. This is the URL we search, the domain that we search for. This is the mail exchange server. This is a mapping showing us how it's resolved to the IP addresses. This is the DNS server. This is the DNS IP addresses. So getting the IP addresses and having a sort of network topology about how your how your victim look like is very important. You could see that from the domain, this is telling us that IP addresses that we need to start focusing on. These are IP address. So if I want to do like some sort of scanning, scan for vulnerability or scan for certain open ports, these are scope of IP addresses that I will be paying attention to. As you can see for this domain, uh, so these are tools that are very handy. You don't need to install them on your system. You just need to visit the site and search for whatever domain that you'd like to gather. So that is for DNS, um, DNS recon information gathering. So let's take a look at, so we also use, and don't forget, previously we also used the WHOIS lookup to also discover domain records around domains, and from there we're able to gather information around what's it called, admin email addresses that could be used during phishing attacks, right? So what else can we use? What else can we look out on? I want to just go on with the slide so I don't deviate. Okay, so IP address lookups. We can also do IP address lookups. We've talked about doing DNS lookup. Uh, Guys, can you see the slide? Hello.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So we've talked about DNS recon. Before we go on to use automated tool on Kali, let's see other the web application tools that we can use for information gathering. So now let's talk about IP address recon. So like I said, we want to gather information about which IP addresses our victims are using, so that will form the scope of what our exploits is going to be about. So we are going to check these two URLs. I think I already have this opened. Okay. So this is Spider Foods. It's also a very good application that can be used to scan, gather information about a particular host, right? And it has a very good user interface that will give you a lot of information. So what am I gathering now? Let me see. Okay. The name of my target. Let me put target 2. So these tools, like I said, they are freely available for you. They have free subscription. All you need to do is create an account. You can see that I created an account, just like you're logging into Facebook. Create an account, then with your email address, and you'll be able to log and try some of these that you see me do. So then after you put in the targets, I think I want to put 2 targets. Let's see. Scan. Let's see. Okay, so you click on run scan. So it's going to start. Oh, have I used my? I think I've used up my scan. Okay, so let me try and go to show you guys what I scan initially, because I'm using the free the free version. So I've used my scan. I just want to show you guys how this scan will come up. See, where's it? Okay, so when you run your scan, that is once it's done, to be able to gather information. As you can see, you'll be able to see network objects. So as much information that it can gather, online about that particular domain that you are searching for, it's going to pop up here. So around, you can see around DNS. Okay, let's take a look at some information here. Hackers targets. See, so this will also show us if that's so when it shows says ACAS target, that means if that particular URLs or the IP address that resolved to that domain, right, have appeared in any breach information. As you can see, we have for that domain, look at the IP addresses. So this give me information about the IP address that domain is resolving into, that you can use for for your scanning, to scan if to scan for open ports or protocols or services running on that network. You can see information around. Okay, it's just giving us for the IP address. Also, I think we have, just trying to scroll down to okay, still the same IP addresses that we have. As target. What else can we see? Let me go back to the data summary. Okay, for this. Okay, our cost target is 100 and so target website on social media. What do we have for that particular user? Okay, so how important is social media? From here you can gather information around maybe the company's profile on LinkedIn to see, okay, how many staffs are working there, who are managers, so that will also guide you on how to send a spear phishing attack. So information gathering is not something that you do quickly, something that you need to spend a lot of time to gather information. Then you'll be able to now spot vulnerabilities right around. Okay, how do you think you can exploit certain vulnerability that you found during the information gathering phase? From here I can see just WordPress. I can see WordPress, nothing much. Let me see, let me go back to the data summary page. You have DNS. You can see unique. Uh, uh, what can we got? Talked about. Okay, okay, under Wiz. Let's take a look at what we have under Wiz information gathering. Okay, you can see the domain. Okay, you can see the name of the server just host that was used to host the domain, expiration date. So this will also help to gather several information if the site is still valid. See, I'm also trying to look out for if we have email addresses, maybe admin email addresses that could be used for during spear phishing attack. We can always see, okay, only support at just host, that has been used. So we have several informations here that we could that could be helpful. And like I said, not all information will be helpful, but you need that quality of information so that you can get, you could have the chances of spotting a vulnerability about your target. So that's what information gathering is majorly all about. And that's what we are trying to do, yeah. So So you also have to start looking at if we have subdomains for this for the DNS. Okay, so we just taking a look at. So what does this site do? It uses other sites like Wiz and other sites to gather information and put it in a more graphical uh, way. So we want to take a look at, okay, for example, you can see that the SSL certificate, it's kind of showing where that means there's an issue around the certificate. So you can see we're having SSL certificate mismatch. That means this is also some sort of bug that needs to be fixed by the company to say, okay, we need to maybe make sure that we are using a trusted certificate, so because this needs to be fixed and could be exploited. So so this was discovered by the SSL certificate analyzer. Let's take a look at what if we have any other information around this. Um, so you see attackers, especially when it comes to bug bounties, when they gather information, they start looking out, exploring okay, how such information could be exploited, especially when they see red flags like this. You know, I can see that it's very risky. The risk rate is high at this point. Uh, so these are just the process for that it takes to gather information. So this is something that you can explore. Maybe where you work, you could just take a look at scan your office network to see their vulnerability, and you could send it to the IT team that this is what you discover. It's something that you guys could look into. Okay, so without wasting much time, what else can we do? It's we could do IP scanning. We could do IP scanning. So we have tools for IP scanning. We have Angry IP scanner to help scan for um, active IPs within our organization. You know, so this is very useful, especially when you are doing internal penetration testing, where you are when you are invited to the company to scan their network, you know, to scan their port, to scan for services internally. You know, so and this is also mostly used by what we call insider attackers. You know, so they use tools like to scan for they use tools like the IP scanner to scan for active IP addresses. Then they start scanning those IP addresses to see open ports, or vulnerable or unpatched vulnerabilities around maybe services, FTP versions, you know, different version or SMB versions that, for example, maybe I still using XMB version 1, which can be exploited using eternal blue attack. You know, so we have other tools like ARP scanner. We have Net Discover. That's, you know, it will so what does is to scan your network, you know, by sending ARP packets requests, address resolution protocol. You know, it scan your LAN network. Basically, what it do is IP scan, you know, to look out for active IPs addresses that could be that could be used for exploit, you know, to gather more information during enumeration phase. You know, we also use Nmap. So Nmap has a feature called ping sweep that could be used to only scan for active IP addresses. So let's take a look at what we can do with automated tools. There are automated tools like email harvester that we could use. So I want to ask a question at this. Why do we need to, why do you guys think we need to scan to get email addresses? Why do you think attackers need email addresses? Please, if you can answer that, please help us on the chat box. Why do we need to scan for emails? Why is it so important to attackers? Waiting, waiting, guys. Somebody could, any suggestion? Yeah. So I'm asking a question around, okay, so is anybody saying something? Why do we need to scan for email addresses, you know, so for on our victims network? Was what do you think attackers need them for? Why not just IP addresses? I'm waiting, guys. Okay, so someone
Okay,
is
can
saying,
I try?
yeah, sorry. Yeah, I can hear you. Who is talking? Sorry. Okay, Chidima.
Chidinma.
Yeah, so what do you think?
Okay, I think is so that they can send phishing emails.
Thank you so much.
Phishing mails and also send attachments that have malwares.
Yeah, that is it. Thank you so much. I think that's so that's the reason. And also, so for the domain, like somebody is Ebim is saying for the domain. Uh yeah, thank you so much. You can use it for social engineering attacks. Thank you. So those are, well, critical reasons why these guys scan for email. So let's go to our Kali. Let's see how we can use this to scan for email harvester too. Uh, so please, if you can see my screen, let me know so that. So I want to log in into. Okay. I think I slide. So I'm just going to copy this because of time. So the slide I'm going to share that with you guys. You can use that for practice. So see. Hope you guys can see my screen, please.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so we are on Kali. Like you say, it's designed for us to use. So most of the time, even if you don't know the name of the tool, you could practice, you could just go. So you can see information gathering is you're all divided in different phases of the cyber attack key chain that you are going to need, right? So we have the information gathering phase. There are different tools that are categorized in different in different groups. So we have here DNS analysis, we have IDS. So if you look at it, we can see that we have DNS Recon. We can also use this tool for DNS Recon, just like what we use. We used just like we use the DNS Dumpster, right? We can also use that tool for DNS Recon. So if I go back to my Kali, you could also see live hosts identification. There are other tools to identify live IP addresses, right? So that we could further scan those IP addresses to see ports running on them or services running on them that could be exploited. You have FPing, HPing, but most of the time, like for me, what I use is just Nmap. So I prefer using Nmap to Nmap ping sweep, to run live host IP addresses. There are other tools. These tools are running on Linux. So on Windows, are there tools that we can use, like the Angry Scanner? The Angry IP Scanner can be used also to scan for live addresses, right? So as you can see, once you get details around your IP addresses, you can also use Nmap, right, to now scan for, to do like a port scanner, a network scanner, a service scanner, so to scan those IP addresses to see if there are malicious vulnerable services running on them. So mass scan can be used. Most ethical hackers prefer using Nmap, kindly because it's widely used. Just to mention a few, let's go straight to what we'll be using for our email address. So we'll be using a tool called the Harvester that you guys saw. So just search for the Harvester, then you can click on it. Okay, so you can see the Harvester 2. Right, so we can see the Harvester 2 right here. If we scrub, these are some of the flags that are very important for us to use. We can see dash help for help. We can see dash D means domain for you to specify the domain. Dash L specify, okay, what's the limit of information would you like to scan for, right? We have dash D for Google docking. So Google docking is more like an advanced searching, on Google to look out for, especially on your targets. So let's just go on and use some of the basic tool that we have here. So the first thing we are going to type is okay, so we'll type the we'll start to harvester. Harvester, then we go on with our, you can see we go on with our dash D. See, go on with our dash D. Then you specify the domain that you want to scan for the email addresses. So you just want to scan for email addresses that has this domain. And most like you guys said, it can be used for social engineering, and can also be used for phishing attacks. So that's L for limits. Let me just put my limit to, let me say, 100. Um, there's dash B. Dash B means the source that you want to use for the search. You can see we have our dash B here. Do you want to search LinkedIn? Do you want to search Google? So let's just do our limit our search to Google. So okay, so it's telling me that the command this has been duplicated. Please use this. So I'm just going to copy this command and repeat that. Okay, I think the only difference is have capital H here. Okay, so going to do this. Okay. So the harvester tool is going to run. So please, do we have any question, please, at this point? Okay, so you could see, you guys could see these are email addresses that we're able to gather. You can see that we have email addresses for the marketing team. We have the sales. So this information is very important for attackers. So if I'm working for this kind of company, I need to let my you need to educate the team that are managing this information around phishing attacks, how they can spot phishing attacks. They need to be very aware, because any time of the day, anybody from anywhere in the world could drop a phishing email, and if they are not careful, you could remember how the Twitter attack last year, it was through a phishing email. So that brings us to that point where we need to security awareness program needs to be very uh, 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 needs to be very considered. We need to consider that a lot, especially for organizations, especially for those that are managing external email addresses. So you can see that we are able to dump emails just from these. Let's also try and take a look at, do we have other to see Microsoft? Can we use Microsoft, for example? Uh, let's do this. Okay, so it's either the domain is not very correct. So let me take a look at what's Microsoft's domain. Is it Microsoft.com? Let me see. Let me see. What else can we look at? Okay. Yeah, okay. Not got any result. Might be found. Okay, so let me check my company's domain. Okay, so see. try this. Okay, so we don't have any results from Google search. So what are other things that we need to do is that we might need to expand our search from just Google alone. We can start expanding our search to, let's say, maybe you want to involve, if you can't get any further details on Google, you could want to extend your search to maybe LinkedIn, to Yahoo, or okay, we also have virus Twitter, we have Twitter, to just basically do a robust search about your target, so let's see, let's see this. So can we do this? This sure. So okay. So no user was found on LinkedIn. It's that domain. So you could also do a search on LinkedIn. So basically, if that domain has users on LinkedIn, it's going to bring it out. You know, let me do this. Let's see if we have this user. Oh, I think I'm using the created tool. Capital H. Don't forget. There's an error on the argument. I think we need to see. Okay, so no users tool was found with that domain. So basically, it was on Google that we were able to gather um, information about those email addresses that we saw the other time. So like this. So it's like I said, information gathering is something that's going to take time. You have to do more like a try and error, try every aspect to see whether you can gather as much information as possible about your victim. So um, basically that is for Google Docking. Sorry, for the Harvester tool, you just need to be able to specify the what's it called, the domain, and start checking different source like we have from the flag where we have here, and see if there are other informations that could be gathered from the different flags that we have, you know, different flags that we have over here. So, you know, so we could specify each of this flag to see whether we can come out with information about our targets, right? So that's that for the harvester. Then what other tools can we use? If we go back to social media, we can use LinkedIn, Facebook, of course, Twitter, to gather information about uh, what's it called, our target. We could also use job sites, especially for companies, to know what kind of tools they use on, what kind of tools they use, what kind of infrastructure run, because most times on job sites, you see during the job description aspect, you see the company will list out for what they are looking for. So invariably, if they are looking for those stuff, that's what they use, on their network. So that's just a way to gather a lot of information. So what else can we do on Kali to gather information? Let me bring up. We could use other automated tools. Sorry, other automated tool that could be used. Let me see. I have my sudo switch. Uh, so So I want to do a change directory to my desktop. Okay. Okay. So I want to download a tool that we can use. Slide again. So we could use this automated passive reconnaissance tool. Okay, someone. Yeah. So somebody is asking, is it possible that the domain is configured to ignore requests? Of course, yeah. It's very possible that the it is configured, especially on the firewall side, to say requests trying to scan for this particular domain should not reproduce any output. It's very possible. Right. So that's why for me, I think the best thing that we normally that I would advise is that try as much as possible to do like a scan generally with using other source, because you could check on Google and you not see any information. You could also check on maybe LinkedIn to see users that have that domain, right? To gather enough information from that domain. And also there are times I could use a tool and it's not giving any feedback. So you could also try using another tool, just like what we are trying to do now. Uh, okay, so okay. So I'm using Git clone to download this tool that we have on our slide. So it's an automated passive reconnaissance tool. So okay, so let's check. Do we have our tool? Is there? So we could do a change directory to that tool, right? So we are in that tool already. Now these are the files that we have, scripts we have on that tool, right? So these are scripts we have on that tool. So one of the script that we are going to be the script that visually that we are going to be using is discover.sh, so which is a bash script. So to open a bash script, don't forget you put in dot slash. You understand? So there are times that actually it could work, or let me try it first. Discover.sh. You have to specify that in full. Okay, so you see, then let's try with dot slash, you see, because it's a batch file. So I'm trying to open the tool that we just downloaded from GitHub. Don't forget we used the command uh, git clone. When we put in the URL, it's downloaded. So where did it download? Because we don't forget, because we are in the desktop directory. That's why it's there. So what we did here is to change directory to the to the folder that we just downloaded, so that we can have access to our tool, right? So now this is okay. So so found two instance of this running on my system. Oh, we have an instance of that one. So I'm just trying to ensure that I close any instance. Okay, so let me just go back and just go back and open this. So change that to desktop. So now we are on desktop folder. So this is the 2. Yeah, we are currently on the 2, right? So we want to open, don't forget the discover this tool. This is the tool that we want to initiate. This, sorry, am I typing this dot slash? That's okay. So you can see this is the 2, right? Okay, so we have the 2 is so it's called automated because it already have a lot of scripts, embedded in it. You can see this. There are tools here that let me see. We have Nicto here. You can see we have Nicto here as a tool, and also we can see that this script is also using Nicto, as part of its application, to that will be used during scanning, right? So that's why it's automated. It's like bringing most 1 or 2 or 3 tools together to enhance our search. So now we are going to be searching for domain. I'm going to just put in 1. You can see up we have recon. 1 is domain, 2 is person. So if you are searching for individual names, you can select 2. So scanning generates a target list. You want to scan an IP address. You want to run an mmap scan. So what is need to, like, these tools here, basically they are they are used for web, um, uh, they have web vulnerability scanner, that scan for maybe expired SSA protocols or loopholes that could be used for cross-site scripting attack or XQuery injection attack. So if so, you can also start up a Metasploit listener here. You can update the 2 if you want to update the 2. You can use select this. So but for this instance now, we are doing a recon for domain. That's why I'm clicking on 1. So it's asking me, is it a passive active recon that we are doing, right? So I will say passive recon, which is this. So it's asking me the name of the company. I could just put target, right? Target 1. Let me put target 4, 5. So now it's asking me for the email address, the domain, right? So let me just use this. Let's use this, right? Then this is the domain. See, showing a scan that domain using different tools, DNS Recon. It's using different tools to gather information. That's why it's automated, showing a scan. Oh, this one that is telling me and says I'm not running as okay. So you can see it's also checking on TNS dumpster. You could see checking on other sources, GitHub, checking on GitHub. So using automated scanning is a very good one, because it's going to be very efficient. Because if you're going to do this manually, it's going to take hours, sometimes days. So using automated tool that could help you scan, and crawl the web uh, on on various resources will be very helpful, you know. So, okay, so as that is running, as so we also have other tools that we could use, right, for information gathering. Look at this was Spider Foods that we were checking on, but we are used checking on the web. We're checking on the web version, right? We also have the cyber tool here on Kali. Uh, I'm also going to do like an IP scanning. So we are going to be doing an IP scanning using Net Discover tool. Yeah. Okay. So this is Net Discover. What is it used for? It also look at, as you can see, it's used for active, passive address resolution protocol, uh, recon tool. So it's used to gather information around your ARP, you know, and also your local IP addresses within your network. So then the first thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to scan my interface and discover that you can see we have the flags here. The I means device to scan your network device. You know, we have -R for range. It's used to scan range of IP address that could be that could be in the format of either a subnet, as you can see. Yeah, -L means to scan the file. So you don't need to actually memorize the stuff. You just need to know the command and also how to get help. You know how to get help. To once you open the command, most of the time you just have a summary of what the command is all about. Then you just start testing for the tools. So I'm going to use -I, right? I'm going to use -I to scan for my local interface, my device interface. Uh, do this. Okay, so you must be a road. So let me switch to my road. Okay. The let's discover these. Okay, so let's go back to see, do we have any information from this automated tool? Did I run this to install 19 switch user? Okay, so let me run this as root. And this is, fine. Okay, so we are scanning for the IP addresses with the Net Discover tool. We can see that from we are seeing two IP addresses, 102 and 101. From here, we can know that the 102 is a VM, right? And also we can see the MAC addresses, right? Uh, So the question is, this is telling us that these IP addresses are live. How do I know? This I have a metasploitable VM installed, and if you see uh, my the IP address here is showing us that the IP address is, as you can see, is this is hanging. Okay, my IP address is 102. If you see the INET address over here, you can see the INET address is showing 192.168.8. So the scan that we are running from it, the net discover scan, has been able to discover that we have an active IP address, right, on our network, right, and this is the IP address of the, what's it called, of, I think, of my machine, of my host machine. Let me check. Uh, okay, so this is the IP address of my, so, yeah, you can see of my host machine. So basically, it's discovered the IP address of my host machine and the other VM that is currently installed. So at this point, what else can we do? We can also use Nmap. We can use Nmap to do a further scan to gather information around open ports. You understand? I also want to use Nmap to gather information around the active IP address that we might be having. Let me open another uh, interface. So while this is running, so I have stopped this. We have has discovered two IP addresses. So okay, so it has two IP addresses. Now I want to also use Nmap to run the same scan to see if we have the same thing. What is Nmap? So that brings us to another discussion around what Nmap is and what the tool is all about. But let me see. I think I have. So basically, it's one of the most useful tool on Kali that is can be used to scan the entire network as fast as possible. By default, what Nmap does is to scan the first 1,000 ports, right? It scans the first 1,000 ports, uh, and also you it uses various flag to scan for TCP and UDP. So it does a TCP scan by default, but if you want to run a UDP scan, you have to also use a flag to run the UDP scan for using Nmap. So basically, these are some of the syntaxes that we have for Nmap. You can see we can scan a single IP address, we can scan multiple IP addresses. We can scan a list of IP address in a file. So to scan for a single IP address, you just need to use Nmap, the IP address. Then you can use dash v. Dash v means give us more details. So to provide more output details. To scan for multiple IP addresses, all we need to do is just to um, um, specify the subnet max, or we could use Nmap, the IP address, then dash 100 to take it from .1 to .100 to scan that list of IP address, or you can use your subnet max like this to say for that list of IP address in the .24 subnet max should also be scanned, right? So for target, so if you have a lot of IP addresses in a file, all you need to do is you could also scan that file, using this flag dash IL. Right? So for sports, so apart from just scanning IP address, you can also scan specific ports. So using dash P and specifying the ports, you can use that to scan one or two ports. But if you want to scan all the available ports that we have, this is good, especially if you are running exam or even on your network, because certain ports might fall out of the first 1000 ports which Nmap does for scanning. So you can just specify dash p dash, which indicates all port. So these are just basic syntax that we are going to use to scan. Now, like I said, if you want to run a UDP, by default, Nmap is used to run a TCP scan. Now, if you want to run a UDP scan, what do you need to do? You just need to use a flag dash small x capital U, which means UDP scan. Then you specify your IP address to scan, right? So also, we can do like a no ping scan. So what does it mean? The way Nmap works is that it first does a ping to ping if that IP address is active. Then it does a scan to see if it does a scan on the active IP addresses, right? To check for open ports, services running on that IP addresses, right? So, but if you don't want it to do a ping, you just want to tell Nmap that just go ahead and scan the IP addresses, treat them as if they are all live, right? That is what no ping scan. That's capital P, small n. So then we have, so apart from just scanning, if you don't specify how you want your scan results to be out to be, it will be displayed on the console, right? But you can also specify that you want your output result to be on the file, so you can put dash on normal, which means to be displayed as normal on the console. You want it to be displayed as XML file. You get that result as an XML file. Then you want to get all the format of that output. You can use dash OA. The timing is the timing that we have here is to specify that, okay, because by default I think Nmap run with dash for T2, or I can't remember now. But if you want the scan to be very fast, right, you can specify. So we have from 0 to 5, 5 being the fastest, then 0 being the slowest, right? The reason why a lot of people don't use the dash T5, for example, because it's going to be noisy. If you are running a scan, your IPS, your IDS, your firewall is going to detect that there's this a scan is being done. So if you want a scan to be done in a still mode, you kind of consider using a other timing level, like maybe dash T2, dash T3, or 4. So having said this, we'll go back to our Kali to um, to use the Nmap to try and scan our network. Do like a ping sweep to scan for active IP address on our network. Okay, so let me go back to Kali. Okay, so don't forget what we did here was to use the Net Discover, right, to gather information around, okay, active IP addresses, and these are the results that we got. So if we want to use Nmap, what do we do at this stage? We use Nmap just as we saw on the slide. Nmap, then we specify our IP address. Um, that's if you know the range of IP address 168. So dot 8.8.0/24, and I'm going to put a verbose like this. So I don't want Nmap to scan for open ports and service. I just want Nmap to tell me that if it found any active IP address, which address is active and which of them is not active. So that's why I'm using this flag SP, which means sweep. It means ping sweep. Just do like a ping alone. Don't scan to find out what service is running on those IP address, right? So I'm going to do this. So you could see Nmap finish scanning. You could see, hello, you guys. Hello, guys. Are you hearing me? Guys.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, from this is where we entered our command, right? You can see nmap-sp, the IP address /24, which is the subnet mask. -v means give more details, right? Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't show you guys the nmap flag, all that we have. I think I need to just maybe just open this and put this nmap. So in case you need information about which flag to use, you could just put -a to see all the information right here. And these are there are examples on what, how you could run, use your nmap command. Look at, these are all the informations that we have right here. So it's not something that you can cram. It's not something that you should be afraid. All you need to do that once you don't have idea about how it is used, don't forget you can use your -h help and you read up some just the guide on how to use them, right? So what we did was to use the SP to do like a ping sweep, like I told you, and -v to just output what we have. So this is, once you go through, and these flags are very important, especially if you are taking exam like CH. The questions around these flags is what they are going to ask you around. Okay, if you are doing, for example, you want to do a ping scan, so you can do -n -xn or -sp like I used, you know. Also, if you want to, so there's so much you can do with nmap, to be honest with you. There's so much. If you want to do a UDP scan, you want to do a TCP scan -xx, these are commands. If you just want to do a trace route to check, we can just use this flag. So don't forget, you can always use the -help to get information about the scan. So you can see nmap does just don't just do the ping scanning. It does beyond the ping scanning. It does a scan to see what type of protocol, is it TCP, UDP that's running. It does a port scan, as you can see, a port scan. Then you just want to see the most common ports in your network. You can use this flag to do that. It also does service and version scanning to see what service is running and the version of those services that is running on the IP, right? So, and a beautiful thing that nmap does is a script scan. What the script scan does is that it will run, it will check, it will scan your operating system. If it's vulnerable against certain unpatched vulnerabilities. Maybe you don't patch your operating system regularly. Running a script can be something that you need to do to see, and we also have OS detection scan to what type of operating system is running, because once you get information about the type of operating system, you can go and look out for exploits, so you can come to, we have exploit databases that are out there, to check for vulnerability against certain operating systems, right? Like exploits DB, you can see we have you can see there are different exploits, right? There are different exploits. Look at the platforms, so you could check for exploits for Windows operating system and the version, So once you are able to use nmap to see the version, right, then you can download this kind of exploits, then find a way to get it to your victim and exploit that operating system. So that is why information gathering is very important, right? Uh, so I just want to try and keep the class very not too long, so that, okay. So we ran an nmap scan. Let's see the result of our nmap scan. I think is here. Not here. Okay, so we did a ping sweep to see what IP address is active running this command, right? So look at it. It checked to see nmap scan report for this IP. host is up, this host is down. So it's just keep checking each of the IP one by one to see which of them is up. You see, at this point, there's no scanning of services, there's no scanning of ports. You can see, check this IP address, and it tells you that this IP address is up, this IP, just like what we have. So I just want you to see the different tools that we could use to achieve different results. Just like we're able to use the Net Discover tool to do this, and we're also able to use the Nmap tool to achieve the same result. So I would like to ask, okay, so guys, I think taking a whole lot from now. I'll drop a slide. I'll drop a slide with an assignment later for you guys to run on your lab, since most of you guys already have labs. So you run on, and also please, you need data. I want you guys to download this Metasploitable. So you are going to download it. I think it's around about 700 MB. Please, if you can get it, it's free, and I'm just going to drop a step on how you can download it, and also because that will be our attacking our victims machine. That the Metasploitable will be the machine we are going to be using um, to as our victim, right? Then the Kali will be the attacker. So we need this kind of setup in your environment, right? Please, is there any question before I would like us to drop this call by 7? Please.
Yes, I have a question. Does the Metasploit not come with Kali? Or we just want it in a separate VM?
Okay. No. Okay, no. So Metasploitable is different. Metasploitable is different from Metasploitable is different from Metasploit. Metasploitable is,
okay,
is a vulnerable operating system, right? That could be is a vulnerable operating system actually that we'll be using for tests. So Metasploit make that available so that in case we want to test, want to use any operating system. So it's very light. It's not like you have to start installing Windows Server and all that. No, just download it and upload it. So we'll just be using it to scan. There are several services on it that are vulnerable. So we'll be trying to, over time, discover how those services are, and like some sort of capture the flag. You understand? Okay, so I'm dropping my email address in case you need any help. You guys can let me know.
Hello?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I was kicked out by mistake of network. I didn't hear what you said about capture the flag also. Can you repeat it, please?
Sorry, come again. I didn't get that.
You said something about capture the flag. I didn't get that. Sorry.
Okay, so what I'm saying, okay, see, are you seeing my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now I'm doing this. These are services from Kali, from this, and all these services are vulnerable. You understand? So we have Samba, we have SQL, we have, I think they have certain ports too that are vulnerable. So we are going, this machine is just created as a vulnerable machine. It has several exploits in it. So I think it's around 700 MB or so. So what we are going to be doing in our other classes is that we are going to find a way to exploit, to look out for those vulnerabilities and exploit them. You understand? So that is the that's kind of how is it called? That's how capture the flag is. Look out for vulnerability and explore.